The alarm in Captain Rain's helmet screamed. Oxygen critical, 1%. He could barely breathe. His lungs felt tight. The inside of his suit was cold, filled with smoke. His body was shaking. Still, he kept crawling forward through the broken metal. Fire and blood all around him. The remains of the battle floated in space. A ship had exploded. Pieces of it were burning on the surface of the moon. Rain had been thrown from the ship, crashing hard. His suit was broken. His biofilter was almost finished. He had maybe 1 minute to live, but he was not crawling for himself. He was crawling toward a small silver pod. Inside the pod, something moved. Rain reached it and pulled open the door. His hands were bloody, shaking, but strong. Inside, he saw a shape, tall, strange, and not human. It was an alien. Its body was badly burned. Its breathing was slow. But it was still alive. Rain stared at the alien. Big black eyes, green skin, a long cut on its arm. It wasn't moving much. It looked weak, lost, dying. Rain had never seen this species before. He didn't even know if it was friend or enemy. He had a choice. He looked at the timer on his wrist. Biofilter at 1%. That meant less than 40 seconds of clean air left in his suit. Enough to maybe survive. Maybe call for help. But if he gave the alien his backup oxygen, he would die. No one would know. No one would blame him, but Rain wasn't that kind of man. With a small smile, he opened his chest panel. He took out the backup oxygen cartridge, the only clean air left. He reached inside the pod and gently placed the device near the alien's mouth. Then he turned it on, his air. For her life. At first, nothing happened. Then the alien gasped. Her chest moved. Her eyes blinked slowly. She looked at him, confused, scared. Rain nodded. "You're safe," he said. "It's okay." She couldn't understand his words, but she understood his face, the look in his eyes. The pain, the kindness. Rain coughed hard. His suit was out of air now. The red light blinked faster. 0% oxygen remaining. He dropped to his knees beside the pod. His vision was dark now. He couldn't feel his hands. His heart was slowing down. Still, he smiled at her. She reached out, confused. Tried to speak. Her voice was soft, broken. "Why?" Rain didn't answer. He couldn't. He just whispered, "Doesn't matter who you are. You were alive. That's enough." Then his eyes closed. Silence. Only the stars above. And the low hum of the alien pod. One human. Dead. One alien. Breathing. 3 days later, alien medical station, orbiting planet Cora. The alien lay in a hospital bed. Her burns were healing. Around her, alien doctors moved quickly, speaking in their language. She was safe, but her eyes were on the small object beside her, a human dog tag with the name Rain carved into it. She held it close. Her people had found the crash site. They had recovered the human's body. They didn't know his name or his mission, but they knew one thing. He had saved one of their own and died for it. Back on Earth, military report, classified. Captain Rain's signal lost. No signs of recovery. Mission status, unknown. Final log entry. If I don't make it back. I hope this meant something. 3 days before he died. Captain Rain was still breathing easy. He sat in the control chair of the small scout ship Orion 7, staring at the stars. His fingers tapped the screen. He had been in space for 2 months, alone, cold, and tired. But that's what he signed up for. A message came in. He opened it. Captain Rain returned to base. Mission completed. He smiled, finally. But just before turning the ship around, something strange appeared on his radar. A signal, faint, weak, hidden behind the static coordinates. Unknown zone? Zeta 9 belt. He zoomed in. The signal pulsed like a heartbeat, soft, but steady. It wasn't from Earth, and it wasn't from any registered alien colony either. It was something else. He clicked the comms panel and sent a message to base. Unregistered distress signal. Received, requesting permission to investigate. The reply came fast. Denied. That zone is restricted. Return immediately. Rain frowned. The signal was still there, quiet, waiting. He looked at the stars again. Then at the blinking ... something inside him whispered, "Go ... and so he disobeyed. He turned the ship toward the signal and flew into the unknown. 1 hour later, the Zeta-9 belt looked like a graveyard, broken ships, floating metal, silent wrecks. Hundreds of them, maybe from a war long ago. All destroyed. It was dark. The kind of dark that made your stomach feel cold. The signal grew louder. Clearer now. It wasn't a human voice. But it was calling for help. Rain moved closer. His scanners picked up something small, a life pod stuck on the surface of a dead moon. He had never seen a design like that before. Smooth, silver, organic looking. Then something moved behind him. An explosion. His ship shook. Red lights flashed. Something had fired at him. He looked out the window. In the distance, fast, silent, a black drone zipped away into the stars. No markings. No sound, gone, but the damage was done. His engine was hit. Fire broke out. The Orion 7 began to fall. Rain grabbed the controls, fighting to land. The crash was hard. Metal screamed. The ground cracked. Then silence. He survived. But the ship was ruined, and he was stuck. Rain woke up 2 hours later. Inside the wreckage, he touched his side, a deep cut. Painful, but not deadly. The oxygen in his suit was already dropping. He had a few hours, maybe, outside the ship. The air was thin and poisoned. He needed to act fast. He stepped out onto the surface. His boots crunched on the dust. The signal was still there. He walked toward it. It came from the silver pod he had seen earlier, about 200 meters away. On the way, he passed strange ruins. Buildings made of black stone, old, alien. There were symbols carved into the walls, glowing faint blue. He didn't understand them, but they gave him a strange feeling, like he was being watched. Then he heard it, not through his ears, but in his head. Help. Please. He turned around. Nothing there. It happened again. Please, help me. Rain shook his head. Must be the concussion, he muttered. But something told him at WASN single quotes. The voice wasn't human, but it was afraid. And alone, and it was calling him. He finally reached the silver pod. It was badly damaged. Cracks along the side. Smoke pouring out. He wiped the window clean with his glove. Inside, a figure. Breathing slow, weak. Not human. He placed his hand on the glass, and the alien's eyes opened. They locked eyes for 1 second. That was all. Rain felt it. Not fear. Not anger. Just pain. And trust. She was asking for help, without words. Suddenly, Rain's wrist device beeped. Oxygen, 17%. Panic started in his chest. He had wasted too much time already. He looked at the alien again. Still trapped, still waiting. He sighed. Okay, he said. Hold on. He began pulling the emergency tools from his belt. As he cut through the pod's outer shell, he didn't know what she was. Didn't know who tried to kill them. Didn't know he only had hours left. All he knew was that someone was out there. Someone alive. And that was enough. The moon was quiet. Too quiet. Captain Rain stood beside the silver pod, staring at the alien inside. She was still breathing barely. Her eyes were closed. Her chest moved slowly. The pod lights flickered. Smoke hissed from broken vents. Rain didn't know her name. Didn't know what species she was. But he knew one thing. She wouldn't survive much longer unless he did something. He opened the side panel of the pod and worked quickly. His hands were shaking and his oxygen levels were dropping. Still, he kept going. He wasn't sure why. Maybe because the voice in his head hadn't stopped. It had returned. Help. Please. Soft, sad, echoing in his mind like a memory. He didn't understand how. But the voice felt real, alive. Behind them, the crashed remains of Rain's ship sat in smoke and silence. The emergency signal was on, but no one had answered. He was alone. And time was running out. Rain looked up at the strange sky. Purple clouds moved slowly above the sharp black cliffs. The moon had no sun. Its light came from glowing stones buried in the ground. The air was filled with static, soft humming sounds that vibrated in his chest. It felt like the moon was singing or remembering. He turned and looked around. Large stone towers rose in the distance, old ruins. built by hands long gone. They didn't look like human structures. They were tall, smooth, and twisted. Symbols covered their sides, glowing faintly blue. Rain walked toward them, curious. His boots crunched on black dust, the moment he stepped between two towers. Everything changed. A sudden flash, the sky darkened, he felt cold, and then he saw them, ghosts, not real, but close, holograms, tall alien soldiers stood around him, dressed in armor. Some looked like the female in the pod. Others looked even stranger. They were fighting, running, falling. Screams echoed in the air, explosions, flashes of light. Rain stepped back. The scene moved like a memory, like the moon was replaying its past. A great battle had happened here, but against who? Suddenly the vision changed. The alien soldiers were gone. A new shape appeared, black, silent, floating machines, drones. Like the one that had shot down Rain's ship. These weren't alive. They were hunters, cold, fast, without emotion. The holograms ended in silence. Rain stood alone again. Breathing hard, the moon had shown him a warning. He returned to the pod quickly. The alien woman was awake now, barely. Her eyes opened when she saw him. Her lips moved, but no sound came. She tried to sit up, but collapsed. Rain held her carefully. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." She pointed toward the ruins, her hand weak. Then she drew a symbol on the dusty floor of the pod, a circle, with 3 lines through it. One of the lines was broken. Rain didn't understand. She drew it again, slower, then pointed at herself, then at him, then made an X with her arms. No communication? He guessed. We're cut off? She nodded barely, then she closed her eyes again. Rain checked his oxygen level, 12%. Panic scratched at the back of his mind. He had 1 backup air cartridge left, enough for maybe 1 person. For a short while, he looked at the cartridge, then at her. No, not yet. There had to be another way. He looked toward the ruins again. Maybe there was something useful in that place. A power source, a relay station. A way to call for help, or at least a place to hide. He made a plan. Carry her to the ruins. Look for shelter or tech. Try to send a signal. Hope anyone, answers. He didn't know if it would work, but doing nothing was not an option. He lifted her carefully. She was light, but his suit made it hard to move fast. His feet dragged, the dust rose. The towers loomed ahead. They reached the ruins. Inside the main chamber, the air was slightly warmer. The walls were covered with glowing lines. Rain laid her gently on a stone slab that looked like a bed. He explored the walls. Found a small console half buried in dirt, strange symbols. Touch-sensitive. He pressed 1. Suddenly a holographic map appeared, not of the moon, of the galaxy. On that map, something blinked red. Ship approaching, but it wasn't human. Rain stared at the red . It was headed straight for them. Asterisk. She didn't speak, not a single word, but she didn't need to, her eyes said. Enough. Captain Rain sat beside the strange stone bed where the alien lay, watching her breathe. Her chest rose and fell, slowly, like waves in a quiet sea. He had placed the last oxygen cartridge near her mouth. She was stable for now, but Rain was not. His biofilter was at 7%. He sat with his back against the wall, staring at the ancient symbols, glowing faint blue across the chamber. It was beautiful here, in a way, silent, calm, but every second his lungs worked harder. The poisoned air was leaking into his suit. Time was slipping away. Still, he didn't leave her. Not yet. She opened her eyes again. Finally alert, Rain leaned forward. Can you understand me? She blinked once. Then slowly sat up. Rain could see she was strong beneath her injuries. Her muscles were tight. Her skin had a strange, armor-like texture. She looked like a soldier, a warrior. She pointed to the wall behind him, where the galaxy map still hovered. A single red dot moved across the display. The enemy ship. Rain nodded. It's coming. We have maybe an hour. She tapped the screen and drew another symbol in the air. 3 circles, one inside the other, then a line cutting through. All 3. Rain frowned. What is that? She stared at him. Then tapped her own chest. Then his. Then the symbol again. Rain understood only part of it. You and me. She nodded. They were both being hunted. Rain stood up. His knees were weak, his head was light. He walked toward the next chamber of the ruins. The warrior followed. The next room was larger. At its center stood a tall metal device, half broken but still glowing. A faded screen blinked slowly. Rain stepped forward and wiped the dust off. The screen showed images, alien faces, smiling, old pictures, maybe a family. Maybe soldiers died then. The screen flickered again. The images changed. Now the photos showed the black machines, the drones, and behind them shadows. Tall, cold, shapeless, a new enemy. Rain turned to her. Who are they? She closed her eyes, placed her palm over her heart, then pointed upward. Rain guessed. They came from beyond? She nodded, then made a cutting motion across her throat. Killers, he whispered. She made a small circle in the air, like a clock. Rain understood. They're coming again. She nodded once more. Then she walked to the wall and placed both hands on a small panel. It lit up. From the ceiling. A case dropped open. Inside, a weapon. It looked like a spear, glowing at the tip, made of energy and metal. Light ran through it like liquid fire. She picked it up. Her hands were steady. In that moment, Rain didn't see a weak alien anymore. He saw a warrior ready to fight. Rain smiled, even though his vision was starting to blur. Looks like you're back. She turned to him, pointed to his side. He looked down. His oxygen meter blinked red. 5%. She walked over, placed her hand over his chest, and closed her eyes. Her skin glowed faintly. Then from her arm a small tube extended, connecting to his suit. For a second, Rain felt something cold enter his lungs. Fresh air. Not much, but enough. He coughed, then laughed. You had spare air this whole time? She raised one eyebrow, her version of a smile, maybe. He stood up, a little stronger. All right. If we're both still breathing, then we fight. Minutes later, the red dot on the map stopped moving. The ship had landed. The ground shook. From the cliff above the ruins. Rain watched them arrive. 4 black machines floated down. Smooth, silent, their red eyes scanned the ruins. One of them turned, stared straight at him. Rain raised his weapon, an old plasma pistol. Beside him, the warrior readied her glowing spear. She looked at him. No fear, only calm. Rain took a deep breath. His last battle. For Earth, not for glory, for survival, for honor, for her. The first drone fired. Rain and the warrior jumped. A blast shook the cliff. Dust filled the air. They landed behind a stone wall. Rain fired back. 1 drone exploded. 3 left. The warrior leaped forward, faster than he expected. Her spear sliced the second drone in half. Rain shot another, damaged it, but not enough. The drone turned toward him. He was out of ammo. To charged. Then in a flash, her spear flew past him, straight through the drone. It fell. All quiet again. Rain looked at her. She nodded. The two stood side by side, still breathing, still alive for now. The air was still. Too still. Captain Rain stood near the edge of the ruins, his plasma pistol now empty. The smoke from the battle drifted across the broken stone. Sparks blinked in the dust where the last drone had fallen. He and the alien warrior stood together, breathing hard, but the battle was not over. Not yet. In the far sky, a shadow moved, large, slow, and hungry. A black ship was descending. Not a drone this time, something worse. Rain ducked behind a broken wall with the alien. She crouched beside him, gripping her spear tightly. Her sharp eyes locked on the sky. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. They both knew what was coming. He checked his oxygen. Again. 3%. The little air the warrior gave him earlier was almost gone, but he didn't think about it now. Right now, survival was the only thought in his mind. The ship landed with a silent thud, shaking the ground. No windows. No lights. Just darkness. The side of the ship opened like a mouth from inside. They stepped out, the real hunters. They were nothing like the drones. Tall, thin, wrapped in black armor that moved like liquid. Their faces were smooth, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a mask of metal. 3 of them, each over 7 feet tall, each holding a long black staff that pulsed with red light. Rain whispered, "We're not walking away from this, are we?" The warrior said nothing, but her grip on the spear tightened. She stood up, and so did Rain. If this was the end, they would meet it standing. The hunters moved like shadows, fast and silent. They scanned the ruins, ignoring the wrecked drones. They weren't here for cleanup. They were here to finish what had started long ago. One of them stopped, head turning toward Rain's position. It had found them, without warning. It leaped forward, landing only meters away. Rain fired instinctively. Sparks flew, but the blast bounced off the armor. The hunter raised its staff. A pulse of red energy blasted the wall beside him, sending Rain flying backward. He hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his back. He couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. The hunter stepped forward. Its staff glowed bright, aiming at Rain's chest, but then, flash, the alien warrior flew through the air. Her spear slicing across the hunter's side. Sparks exploded. The hunter staggered, but it wasn't dead. It turned on her. They fought in silence, spear against staff, light against shadow. Rain watched, gasping for air. The duel was fast, deadly, beautiful. The warrior moved with grace and fury. Every strike had meaning, but the hunter was stronger. It knocked her back, sending her crashing into the stone wall. She didn't get up. Rain crawled to her. No, stay with me. Her eyes open, barely. Blood or something like it ran from her mouth. She looked at him, weak, but alive. The hunter marched toward them. Slowly, confident, cruel. Rain grabbed a broken piece of metal from the ground, the handle of her spear, now shattered. He stood up, stumbled forward. No air, no strength, but still. He moved. The hunter raised its staff. Rain didn't stop. He screamed, not words, just raw defiance. The staff fired. Rain ducked under the blast and slammed the broken spear into the hunter's chest. Direct hit. The armor cracked, the red glow inside dimmed. The hunter staggered, then fell. Dead. Arwine collapsed beside it, chest heaving. His vision went dark around the edges. He looked at his wrist. Oxygen, 1%. Silence returned, but only for a moment. Low hum started in the distance. The other two hunters were approaching. Rain turned to the warrior. She was trying to stand. He helped her up, his own legs shaking. They both knew they couldn't fight two more, not like this. Rain looked around. That's when he saw it. Behind the ruins, half buried in rock, a working escape pod. Old, alien, but maybe functional. He pointed. She nodded weakly. Together they ran. Every step was pain. The ground shook as the hunters closed in. They reached the pod. Rain helped her inside. The controls lit up. He stepped back. She reached for him, but he closed the door. Side. Alone, depressed. The launch panel. The pod fired upward, taking her away. Safe. He fell to his knees. His oxygen dropped to 0%. His eyes closed, but he smiled. Asterisk. Silence. That was all he could hear. Captain Rain lay on the cold ground, staring at the stars above. His eyes were half open. His body wasn't moving. His lungs refused to work. His suit flashed warnings. Oxygen level, 0% biofilter. Failure neural function, CRITICAL, but he didn't care. He had done it. She was safe. The alien escape pod had launched moments ago, carrying the warrior into the sky. She was gone now, far from the hunters, far from this dying moon. He smiled, not because he was happy, but because he had made a choice, and it felt right. He closed his eyes. A strange warmth filled his chest. Then, suddenly, light. His suit glowed. A soft blue light spread across his body. His mind, weak and fading, felt touched, like something was entering. He blinked. The light formed a shape. The alien warrior. Not her body, but her voice. In his mind, don't leave. It wasn't sound. It was feeling. He opened his mouth, barely able to whisper, I already chose. Far above the moon, the alien warrior sat inside the escape pod. Her body shook. Her hand pressed against the glass, staring down at the world below. The pod AI said, Auto course to home planet initiated. But she wasn't listening. She saw him on the screen, still lying there, still not moving. She knew what he had done. He had tricked her, locked her in, launched the pod alone. He gave up his life. For her, a memory filled her mind, him placing the oxygen tube near her mouth, his eyes calm, his breath fading. She screamed, but no one could hear. Then she closed her eyes. and made a decision back on the moon. Rain felt his chest grow heavier. This was it. No more time. His brain was dimming. Then he heard something, a sound. Wind. But this moon had no wind. He opened his eyes. A figure stood above him. Heard. She had come back. The pod had turned mid-flight. The warrior had overridden it. She landed the pod close to the ruins and ran toward him. Her body was still hurt, but she didn't care. She knelt beside him, hands glowing. Her fingers touched his chest, his neck, his temple. Her power flowed into him, not oxygen, not blood. Something else. Memory, light, energy. He gasped. Air rushed in. His eyes opened wide. He was alive, just barely, but alive. They sat together for a moment. Neither spoke. He looked at her, confused, weak. Why? Come back. She tilted her head. Then, for the first time, she spoke, not in words, but in his mind. Because you gave me life. He smiled. I thought I was the hero. You are, but I won't let you die alone. He looked around. There are still 2 hunters left. Then we stop them, together. Rain laughed softly. Sounds like a plan. They returned to the ruins, side by side. The air was thin. The sky darker now, but Rain felt something different. Inside, he wasn't just a man anymore. He was part of something more. Her gift. Whatever it was had changed him. His vision was sharper. His mind clearer. He picked up the broken spear she had dropped before. It hummed in his hand. Alive. The hunters were waiting. Their smooth black armor glowed red. No words. No warnings, just death. One raised its staff, but Rain moved first, faster than he ever had. He leaped, spear spinning in his hand, and struck the hunter in the chest. The armor cracked. The machine roared. Beside him, the warrior fought the second one, spear, against energy. Her eyes burned with fury. This was her home once. These were her enemies. This was her fight. Rain dropped to one knee. The air still wasn't enough. His body screamed, but he didn't stop. He rose, charged, and slammed the spear into the final hunter's back. A burst of light exploded. Then, silence. They were gone. Rain dropped the weapon and fell to the ground. His chest heaved. Blood in his mouth, she ran to him, held him close. He looked into her eyes. Now it's finished. No, she said in his mind. Now it begins. She reached into her suit and pulled out a glowing cube, small, bright. She placed it in his hand. What's this? He whispered. A gift. He closed his fingers around it. His body went still. It began with silence, a planet in mourning, a warrior standing alone, and a message carried across the stars. The alien homeworld of Kyrie was quiet the day the pod landed. People gathered around it, unsure of what it was. They had seen pods before, usually from the war, usually empty, but this time it wasn't. The pod door opened slowly, and out stepped the warrior, scarred, exhausted. Alive. In her hands, she carried something wrapped in silver cloth, a small metal tag, one word engraved, Arawine. The elders of Kari welcomed her, confused but respectful. She was the last of her unit, presumed dead, but now she returned with a story no one expected. They asked what happened. She said nothing. Instead, she placed her hand on the ground. And from her palm, a light appeared. A memory, not hers, but shared, his memory. Captain Rain's last days, his battle, his choice. The Kari people watched every second as if it were happening before them. They saw him give his oxygen to her. Saw him face the hunters. Saw him die. Not for his own kind, but for someone else's. There were no words after that. Just silence, and then a quiet tear from the oldest elder, followed by a whisper. He was not our enemy. He was our brother. A monument was built on Kari, not tall, not shining. Just a stone pillar facing the stars. At its base, a plaque in 2 languages, Kari and human English. He gave everything and asked for nothing. Captain Rain, human soldier. Flowers were placed there every morning, even by those who had lost family in the war, even by children who had never met a human, because now they knew one, and they would remember him. Back on Earth, months passed. Rain was listed as MIA, presumed dead. No one ever found his body. No one knew what happened on the moon. Until the message arrived. A strange craft entered Earth orbit. Unarmed, it broadcasted no threats. Only a signal of peace. Inside was one object. The glowing cube Rain had held in his hand. It played a single message. The alien warrior's voice, calm, strong, translated into English. This is not a warning. This is not revenge. This is a thank you. One of your own gave his life to protect mine. He had no reason. No order, no reward. Just courage. He changed us. He showed us what humanity truly is. We will not forget. You are no longer alone. The message shook the world. For decades, humans had feared other species, fought them, distrusted them, but this was something new, something bigger than war. A year later, Earth and Kari signed the first interworld peace pact. No generals, no armies. Just one chair left empty at the signing table, marked Captain Rain. His sacrifice had done what leaders couldn't. He had built a bridge with nothing but a choice. The warrior visited Earth not long after. She stood before a crowd in New Geneva. Reporters asked, "What was he like?" She paused, then answered simply, "Human, but more than that. He was kind when he didn't need to be. He saved me without knowing my name." That is power no weapon can match. Years passed, but Rain's story didn't fade. Schools taught his mission. Soldiers learned his code. Children wrote his name in the stars, and somewhere on the edge of the galaxy, people who had never met him whispered his name in quiet thanks. They didn't remember his face, they remembered his choice. Because sometimes one life is enough to change everything.